protecting reproductive rights.
Reproductive freedom.
The inflation.
We're sunk.
I believe in life.
Abortion rights.
Crime.
The first polls closed on Tuesday in US midterm elections that will determine whether Republicans win control of Congress, which would give them the power to block much of President Joe Biden's agenda in the next 2 years. The first polls closed at 6 p.m. in Kentucky. Motivated by concerns about high inflation and crime, voters were poised to usher in an era of divided government in Washington, despite warnings from Democrats about the erosion of abortion rights and the undermining of democratic norms. An Edison Research exit poll of midterm voters showed that inflation and abortion were the top issues on voters' mind, with 3 of 10 citing one or the other as their top concern. 35 Senate seats and all 435 House of Representatives seats are on the ballot. Republicans are widely favored to pick up the 5 seats they need to control the House, while the Senate, currently split 50-50 with Democrats holding the tie-breaking vote, could come down to a quartet of toss-up races in Pennsylvania, Nevada, Georgia, and Arizona. Many voters said they were motivated by frustration with inflation, which at 8.2% stands at the highest rate in 40 years.
We've got to do something to reverse the inflationary trend that, and the Democrats are spending out of control. Congress is spending out of control. That needs to come back in line.
The economy is rigged for the wealthy, and and if we don't change that, we're sunk.
Legislative measures have a lot of impact on us, so we just need to make sure that we support the candidates that we believe can make an impact in helping small businesses.
Of course, inflation, the economy, prices are horrendous. I thought I was going to be able to retire this year, and I'm going to have to wait another year. So it's bad.
Fears of rising crime were also a factor even in left-leaning areas like New York, where incumbent Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul faced a tough challenge from Republican Lee Zeldin.
I think the crime issue is overblown. It's really, a lot of rhetoric and fear-mongering. I think that if we take appropriate steps and protect ourselves, and we'll be safe. I know that, if I look at the stats, it's not as bad in New York as it is in other places.
I guess I'd have to go with the Democrats, just because they're there right now and they still have time to do something for us. So I wouldn't necessarily want to jump 2 years ahead. I'd still like to give them some time to do something, to see where they can take us.
From Zeldin's interviews, he gives the impression he wants to do something about crime, while the governor at the moment doesn't seem to understand what everybody's problem is with this crime.
For me, voting is certainly a privilege. I come from, my background is Cuban. We were stripped of all our rights, of all our freedoms. So coming to this country, my parents and my grandparents always left with me that feeling, how great it is to be in this country, and one of the best ways that you could respect your country is through voting. So voting is very important. Whether you vote one way or the other, it doesn't matter, but you need to do this.
Republicans, because I want them to start running this country like a business, like Trump did, okay? Get us back on track, please.
The Supreme Court's June decision to overturn the nationwide right to abortion had galvanized voters around the country, with many voters across the country saying the issue had influenced their vote.
as a pro-lifer and a Democrat, you know, I believe in life. Once a heartbeat is detected, you're taking another life. And there's medical reasons why, because that life has a totally different DNA than the mother. So I'm going to fight for the life that's in the womb as well as lives that are out here now walking around.
It was my first time because I just became a U.S. citizen a couple months ago, and I voted for Kathy Hochul, Chuck Schumer, just straight down the Democratic line.
Okay, tell us why you voted for Hochul.
Honestly, the abortion rights are really big right now. As a woman, I feel like it's really important to protect our health and those who can't help themselves. It's just, you know, better for all the women who can have that right to health care.
Well, the number one thing is the pro-life issue. It's been disgusting watching Joe Biden proclaim himself as a Catholic and not standing for preborn citizens of our nation. It's an amazing time to be an American with the unjust Roe issue, the law that's been on the books since 1973. That was an unjust law that has led to the slaughter of 65 million preborn Americans, most of them black. It is our black genocide, and history will tell this. And for people to reclassify abortion as health care, it's been disgusting. So I'm here and I'm fired up because this midterm election, we will get pro-life majority back in the House and the Senate, and then we just need to wait 2 more years, and it'll just be a time to reproclaim the dignity of the human person and get rid of the slaughter of the innocents in America.
I'm pro-life, I'm pro-God, and I'm pro-America.
Well, I like to vote at every election, but I think especially this time, you know, it's about reproductive rights, it's about the environment, it's about ensuring that everyone, you know, has an opportunity to vote.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of big things happening in the world at all times, but currently, particularly as a woman, protecting reproductive rights in all forms in this state and federally is the most important thing that's been driving me and a lot of my friends, and I think has really pushed a lot of us to get friends who maybe wouldn't have voted, or get people to kind of look into who they're voting for, why they're voting for them, and really protecting our basic human rights.
Probably the number one thing is reproductive freedom. I'm looking for a full Democratic majority that will uphold Roe v. Wade, as well as candidates that will respect the results of the election.
I'm voting for Democrat because I don't believe that the Republicans have done a lot for us statewide and countrywide. There needs to be change, and I think the way that we're going to get that change is going blue.
I came today to vote for Democratic parties and to keep women in power because I believe that the votes of the majority are not being put into consideration, especially members of the trans community, the LGBT community, and people of color. I don't believe that our interests are being valued at all by people in power. So I came here to make sure that our voices were heard.
More than 46 million Americans voted ahead of Election Day, either by mail or in person, according to data from the US Election Project, and state election officials caution that it will take time to count all of those ballots. Control of the Senate might not be known until a potential December 6 runoff in Georgia. In Congress, a Republican-controlled House would be able to block bills addressing democratic priorities such as abortion rights and climate change. Republicans could also initiate a showdown over the nation's debt ceiling, which could shake financial markets and launch investigations into Biden's administration and family. Republicans will have the power to block aid to Ukraine if they win back control of Congress. But analysts say they are more likely to slow or par back the flow of defense and economic assistance. A Republican Senate would hold sway over Biden's judicial nominations, including any Supreme Court vacancy, intensifying the spotlight on the increasingly conservative court.